Welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in the town of Bedford's local government. Whether it's new initiatives or important decisions shaping our town's future, you'll hear it right here. This podcast is dedicated to keeping our residents informed and engaged.
Hello and welcome to the Best Little Town broadcast. It is currently Wednesday morning, February 26th. My name is Bart Warner. I have the privilege of serving as the town manager for the town of Bedford. And the purpose of this podcast, in cooperation with our media partners at Media Squatch, is to provide a recap of council activities following every council meeting to keep our citizens, businesses, and interested parties informed, and also to promote active engagement with the community. It's good to be back with the broadcast after a bit of an absence. Of course, I missed a meeting back in January due to personal illness, and then we had a cancellation due to agenda issues and also some winter weather. So, again, good to be back to share information about our community with you. Last night, council met. It being the fourth Tuesday, council meets the second and fourth Tuesday of every month unless something odd comes up. And if it does come up, we will let you know. But we did have our regular meeting last night, and I'm just going to run through the agenda to kind of provide a background of what happened. We began with approval of minutes from our previous meetings. My report, I advised council, and I'm passing this information along at this point, that our community is growing. Based on modeling tools and projections through Esri, which is a geographic information system tool, our planning department staff estimates that the current population of the town is right around 8,000 people. And that is before we see development come out of the ground that has been discussed or already approved. Also, in an item that will be interesting to motorists in town, the proposed roundabout at the Forks intersection did not score highly enough to advance within VDOT's Smart Scale funding program. For those who may not be aware, the local residency of VDOT had suggested that we pursue funding for a roundabout at the intersection of Forest Road, Independence Boulevard, and Longwood Avenue. But that did not proceed under VDOT's internal scoring guidelines. There are no further plans to proceed with that proposal at this time, and frankly, it'd probably be another couple of years before it would be brought up for any kind of discussion. Last night, I also had the honor of introducing Jeremy Marcus. Jeremy has joined our building officials department. He is a building inspector. He is also currently studying to obtain his certification as a certified building official. He and Gary McIver are tasked with several activities, including inspecting all new construction, as well as code enforcement throughout town. And Jeremy's been on board for a couple of months with us already and doing a great job. Again, my first point, the town is growing, so it's really been more work than one person could keep up with, although Gary did a really good job in that regard before Jeremy came on board. We also had a couple of appearances before council last night. Mr. Max Legassi, who is with the Little Otter Flower Farm, gave a presentation and advised us that he is promoting a program of sorts in conjunction with the farmers market, spreading the season of kindness. Mr. Legassi explained that he is personally trying to promote at least 500 random acts of kindness throughout Bedford County in the coming year. We also received a presentation from an organization entitled Food for Kids. Susan Tinsley with that organization explain what they do. Basically, their organization is geared toward assisting our local school children who qualify for free or reduced lunch. They're taken care of while they're at school, but oftentimes they have little to eat at home on weekends. So this organization has stepped in to kind of fill a gap there and provide bags of food for students to take home on the weekends. Typically, they pack 650 to 700 bags on a weekly basis. And for more information, we would encourage you to check them out online. They have a website, www www.foodforkidspacksack.org. You can also contact them by telephone at 540-493-2117. The next item of business on the agenda were council comments, and as is the tradition, the mayor kind of went around the dais and allowed each member of council to share what was on their mind. Councilman Jay Ippolito stated that he was glad to see everyone present for the meeting. He also extended his appreciation to Mr. Marcus and welcomed him to staff, and thanked the presenters from the Food for Kids program for what they were doing and the information they shared. Councilman Stacey Haley extended his thanks to employees from the Public Works and Electric departments for their work in the recent winter weather events. It's been a while since we've had any kind of snow or ice, and frankly, within the past 3 months, we've had 3 different events that included a variety of forms of both precipitation. Vice Mayor Darrell Updike passed along information about the passing of Ted King. Mr. King was the chief of police for Bedford in the 1980s. I think his tenure was from 1980 to 1987. He passed away a few weeks ago, and Mr. Updike noted that he was the chief when Mr. Updike was hired by the Bedford Police Department back then. So, of course, we certainly extend our condolences to former Chief King's family. Darrell also thanked the electric public works and police departments for their role in dealing with the winter weather. He also shared his personal experience with the Food for Kids program and wound up by thanking the people who were physically present for last night's meeting. Councilman Dwight Evans also thanked people for showing up. He said he was also pleased with the storm response from town staff and thanked Ms. Tinsley for her presentation on behalf of Food for Kids. Councilman Dave Foster also, like everyone else, expressed his appreciation for folks coming out, and he encouraged more community involvement. And on that note, again, Town Council meets in person every Tuesday and Thursday of each month at 7 o'clock in the upstairs council chamber at 215 East Main Street. Those meetings are always open to the public. We're always happy to get people who show up. If you can't make it out, you can watch it on a live stream provided through our partners at Media Squatch. We also record those and post those on YouTube. So if you can't be with us in person, we encourage you to be with us in spirit and also to access the information that we present online. Mayor Stanley concluded the council comments by also thanking the Foods for Kids information presenters. He extended his thanks also to town staff for the response to the weather events, and he noted that in addition to keeping the roads and right-of-ways clear, Public Works also kept up with trash pickup every day during the storm events, and that's a level of service that some of our neighbors were not able to provide. He also noted the electric department's response to a power outage about a week ago on Wednesday in conjunction with the winter weather and an ice event. There was a transmission line that was downed, and we were able to restore power. First off, it caused a widespread power outage, which we certainly regret, but we were able to restore power to most people impacted by that within about 4 hours and within the day, certainly. And that's something that our electric department particularly prides itself on. Again, we don't want the power to ever go out. We do our best to maintain reliability. But if it does, we're focused on our area of service and we're able to respond directly in most cases. The next item of new business was a public hearing related to the granting of a competitive cable franchise. Comcast has requested a franchise from the town. As part of that, we were required to have a public hearing for input. No one did appear or speak during that, so we moved on to the next items of new business. Alice Wolf, who is the president of the Blue Ridge Power Agency, which is one of our affiliations through our electric utility, shared some information with council and customers that frankly was something we weren't happy to receive, and it relates to some increased cost for our electric utility business related to capacity. If you go online, if you were there last night, I would encourage you to check out Alice's presentation for further details. The primary issue is that we are part of an organization called PJM. That is an organization that manages the electric grid. In very general terms, that's the explanation. Within several states, including Virginia. One of the issues that we've had with the electric utilities and all electric utilities, as we've talked about before on this podcast, is that the demand for electric service is far outpacing the construction of generating facilities. And that's become such an issue that PJM is increasing their costs to all utilities within their service area to promote and provide incentives for development of power generation to avoid future shortages and brownouts, which, again, this is all kind of a linear equation. If things continue at the rate they're going, we're going to have to talk about the likelihood of those events. Of course, the challenge is there, in addition to the fact of basic growth. A large culprit in this issue is the development of data centers, which are becoming as essential to the 21st century economy as physical roads were in the 20th century. The problem is these things consume and demand an enormous amount of electricity. There's several factors involved with that, but a lot of it boils down to air conditioning. A lot of your computer servers generate a lot of heat, and if that isn't abated appropriately, they don't function very well. So, in addition to this increased demand, there's also been a factor of regulations at both the state and federal level that have prevented or discouraged new power generation, and in some cases have actually closed existing generating facilities that were either projected to continue to serve beyond their closure date at the time, or were actually very efficient in terms of energy production, but did not meet parameters established by the political concerns that sometimes drive the bodies who make the rules. So it's a challenge we're aware of, but frankly, what PGM is doing is trying to get ahead of that by providing a resource for generators to create more facilities when they're allowed to do it. It's complicated also by regulations, and without getting into political discussions, which I'm not allowed to do anyway, it is something that we need to keep an eye on and need to communicate with our elected officials. There are a lot of actions taken with regard to energy policies that have had a lot of what I think are unintended consequences, including discussions of rates. Some of our neighbors in the private sector, in addition to the fact that they're not able to provide more generation, they're also being questioned about their ability to charge fees. In our case, we know this charge is coming to the town. We've done our best to offset that, but it's going to be a significant budgeting issue for us that we're going to have to address beginning in June. Moving on with the agenda, we also had a request from the electric department, oddly enough, to purchase transformers for a new development that's the Eastland Crossing. That development is coming out of the ground between Independence Boulevard and Lowry Street. Obviously, we provide the electric service there, so in order to get ahead of that development, we have to have the transformers on hand. And under the current arrangement, the electric department has to get approval from council for those kinds of expenditures, and that was unanimously approved last night. I forgot to mention, Councilman Todd Foreman was not able to join us due to a conflict with his employment situation. So when I say it was unanimously passed, that was a 6-0 vote with one member absent. And I inadvertently just now skipped over the competitive cable franchise itself. Basically, for anyone to provide service within our right-of-way, we have to grant them permission. And that includes things like cable television and internet services. The town has had a long-standing relationship with the Chantel, and for a long time, they were the only such provider within town. We currently have a 10-year franchise with them, which was granted in 2017. they have indicated they want to renegotiate renewal of that coming up in 2027. One of the questions we were asked, though, in those cases is it an exclusive franchise to Chantel? And the answer to that is it is not. There's never been a prohibition of any other company coming in to provide service, but they have to go through the process to get this franchise. And up until fairly recently, we haven't had other companies who are interested. But fortunately, I think in terms of consumer choice, that has changed. Within the past year or so, we did grant a similar franchise to Zytel. They are currently in the process of installing their infrastructure in town, so that would be another option for internet service for the people that can get access to that. And in addition, Comcast is also requesting information to come through and then be a third option. Now, we talked about this last night. The specific language of the state law relates to cable television, and our attorney noted that we can't compel them to provide internet service in conjunction with that. However, the nature of the actual infrastructure that's being installed is fiber optic internet cable. So if you still have plug-in cable service through Chantel, it's actually an internet service, but it's defined as cable television service. That's one of those quirky things of government and specific to Virginia, frankly, about the definitions we employ when talking about things. Council did discuss this, had a few questions about it, but ultimately that also was passed on a unanimous vote of 6 members with 1 member absent, which means that Comcast has the all clear to proceed with installation of their infrastructure, and that will be another option for internet service that citizens and businesses will have moving forward. The next item was adoption of a town infrastructure bonding policy. This relates to what happens with new development. As new neighborhoods are constructed, there are certain things like roads, sidewalks, stormwater that are within the town's purview that the developers are required to install. Sometimes, though, due to the pace of development, or in a case where a development gets started and is not built out, or in a worst case where a developer starts a development and then abandons the project, the town has the ability to draw on a surety or an insurance policy to make sure that the necessary infrastructure to serve existing and adjacent areas still gets built. And that's basically through a bonding policy. And this was a continuation of our recent zoning ordinance amendment, basically, again, dealing with new construction primarily. Anytime there's new construction, there are impacts on the people not only within the area of that development, but also on adjacent areas. And this gives us the ability to firm up the rules that apply to making sure those infrastructure needs are met. That also was approved unanimously, 6 members voting for it, 1 member absent. Final item of new business last night related to Bedford's designation by the National Park Service as a World War II heritage city. This is a program that's nationally recognized where one community in each state is designated by the National Park Service as a World War II heritage city. Bedford fills that role for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Part of that relates to promotions and signage, and since it's a federal program, there are always rules and strings attached to that. We have to provide logos and marketing material that meet federal requirements. In order to do that, the Park Service does offer a grant for design work, and the town was staff was asking the town council to approve the process whereby we could apply for and hopefully obtain that funding. That also was unanimously approved by town council, 6 members voting for, 1 member absent. And that was the action taken last night. I will say the new council, we have some members who have been recently elected. They've hit the ground running. We're in budget season. We did have a work session this past Saturday where staff presented a proposed budget for the general fund. Process there is we give a proposal to council around the first of the year. They have until June 30 effectively to adopt one of their own. We're also continuing to work on the electric fund budget. That's impacted by the information shared by Ms. Wolf last night. And we have to talk about the options that we will employ to offset the costs that are coming down the pike there. In addition, this council is talking about getting ahead of several issues such as town-owned facilities, town-owned properties, our operations in general, and we're at a point in which we know that we probably need to make some changes to operations, and staff and council are actively engaged in those discussions. Of course, from my perspective, we appreciate the willingness of the folks on council to serve. It's a pretty thankless job, but we certainly appreciate it and want to thank them for taking it on. We also thank our citizens who ask good questions, push us to do the best we can, and we thank you for your patience in allowing us to respond to those things. Oftentimes, government works at a slower pace than what we would all like. Usually there are reasons for that based on the procedural and legal requirements that we have to face, which are unique to the public sector. As always, I thank you very much for your time and attention and listening to this broadcast. Welcome you to participate fully in the activities of your town organization. Contact us at Town Hall at any time by phone. That direct number is 540-587-6001. You can email me at bwarner@bedfordva.gov. We also have a robust social media presence, again, managed by our partners here at Media Squatch, and we're happy to roll out information there as well. Till the next time, look forward to some warmer weather. We're getting a little taste of that today, but don't get used to it. And looking forward to the challenges and the opportunities that the future may bring here in the world's best little town.